Welcome back to the Two Gay Dads podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Nate.
We have an absolutely exciting episode for you in store today. Papa, what are we covering today?
So we're going to kick off with an interview with Jamie McGonigal, a public school dad, PTA president, longtime LGBT activist, and nationally recognized voice actor and arts producer. Then we're going to do This Week in the Gay Agenda and the Dad Fail of the Week. Jason's got another one in store for us. With that...
Hey, my name's Lizzie. This is Two Gay Dads. Let's get right into it.
So, Daddy, I thought we were going to... I thought we were going to be able to put Dad Fail of the Week away for a couple of weeks and, move on to other news segments. But I hear that you have a Dad Fail this week.
I'm embarrassed to say, but I do.
Dad Fail of the Week. Yeah, yeah. What you break this time? Oh, no. Dad Fail of the Week. Let's relive that crime. Woo-hoo!
So, my Dad Fail of the Week. So we just got back from Ohio from your mom's retirement party. Congratulations, Mama B, on 30 years of amazing, dedicated service to the veterans in Northwest Ohio.
So proud of my mom.
Everyone should be proud of your mom. And Friday morning was Lizzie's first day of spring break. And I had a few work things to do and a few other things to do around the house to get ready to get out the door. Head there, and she was driving me a little nuts. Like, you know that thing your dad does when he paces when he's ready to go? That was her. That was what she's was doing. Kid. And so I asked her, I'm like, hey, all this stuff that's over here by our table, can you go take it and move it to the front door? And that will help Daddy. That will help us get out of here faster. So it was my suitcase, her bag, my work bag, because I was going right on a work trip from there. And she did a great job. She moved everything but her dress, her shoes, her necklace. It was a beautiful dress that we got specifically for your mom's retirement party that Lizzie had asked to wear all winter, but it's a springy dress, so it wouldn't have been the right fit. It had your grandma's necklace on there, which was given to Lizzie, so it's this family heirloom. And we were on the phone talking about how I was getting ready to pull in to charge my truck and we're going to stop. And was there anything we needed for the party? And you mentioned the dress. And I said, oh, shoot. I didn't say shoot.
That's not what he said.
That's not what I said. Oh, shoot. I don't have the dress. So we ended up with a $100 shopping spree because it was an outfit. It was a dress. It was shoes, but hey, she looked good and she picked out a beautiful dress.
She did. No, it was a really, she looked great.
She picked up.
And in your defense, she did show up at 7:00 in the morning, fully dressed in the outfit in her Christmas dress with fur jacket, and
her dance makeup on,
and all of her dance makeup on, and so you had to clean all that up. Bless her heart.
She wanted to look good for Grandma. So again, we share these because they're funny, lighthearted moments, but certainly
every girl dad has been there, I'm sure.
But we certainly feel like these are moments where we dropped the ball, where we absolutely could have done more and could have done better.
Let's relive that crime. Woo-hoo!
So, Papa, why don't you introduce our next guest for the show?
Today, we're joined by Jamie McGonigal. Jamie's life has taken him from the Broadway stage to marriage equality rallies, global HIV and AIDS advocacy, and now to running for his local Board of Education. As a gay dad raising a child in public schools, Jamie brings a powerful mix of storytelling, organizing, and lived experience, and a deep belief that schools should be places where every family feels welcome and every kid feels seen. And we're excited to welcome Jamie McGonigal to Two Gay Dads.
Jamie, welcome to the Two Gay Dads podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
In your own words, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Sure thing. I am Jamie McGonigal. I am a gay dad. I am a dog dad, TA president at my kids' elementary school. I'm a Pokemon voice actor. I used to produce Broadway concerts and events for a lot of years. Kind of been all over the place as far as career goes. I worked in political tech, and now I am here because I'm running for school board in Prince George's County, Maryland.
That's fantastic. So we will dive into the political campaign here in just a little bit, but can you take us back to the moment like you and your husband realized that you wanted to be parents? Like, was there a moment where it just was like, yes, I want to do this? Was it a I've always wanted to be a parent thing? Like, talk to us about that moment when it's like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, we were actually we'd kind of talked about it over the years and some like minor conversations about it. But we were sitting on the couch. We'd just bought this house maybe 6 months prior. We were sitting on the couch in our TV room and we started chatting, and it turned out that he wanted to be a dad because he thought I really wanted to be one, and I wanted to be one because I thought he really wanted to be one. And it was this weird moment. And we said, well, we just bought this house and we have a really great swing set out back, so we don't want that to go to waste. So that's a great reason to have a kid. But we ended up, we talked about it and tried to think about like, what would our life look like with kids, and what would it look like without kids? And we figured, okay, with kids, it certainly changed things up. It'd be different. It'd be kind of a new adventure, and we've never shied away from adventures. And without kids, things would continue the way they are, probably more disposable income than we have now. But we thought, this is nice and everything, but I think changing it up makes sense. And we also realized a lot of our own journey was focused on, as activists and advocates, was focused on making the world better for the next generation of kids like us. So we fight so hard because we want things to be easier for young people growing up now. So everything just kind of made sense. And in that moment, we decided, let's take a class. So we took a class called Maybe Baby with Rainbow Families here in DC, which my husband's now the president of the board for them. So kind of full circle moment. But yeah, we did that and we realized, okay, this is for us.
So you've got an 8-year-old now. But your advocacy, it sounds like from your bio, way predates, becoming a parent. How do you think, though, that being a parent has changed the way you think about advocacy and leadership?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think my advocacy was before I had a kid was a lot more focused on me and adults and my community and me being able to get married and me having the employment opportunities and housing opportunities and the rights. Now it's all him. It's all how do we make the world better for this kid? Think about it in the abstract, right? I want to make the world better for the next generation of queer people, of anybody, right? The kind of the campsite rule, leave it better than you found it. And with a kid now, it's just so more pointed. And I need to make the world better for him. That's the biggest shift of all. I still advocate for myself, but now I'm advocating for myself in the view of our family, and the fact that I want there to be books in school about families like ours, because I felt really alone growing up because there was never anything like that. And I want families like ours to be recognized and to be seen as valid, real families as we are. Because there's a lot of people out there fighting us saying that we're not. So that's where the advocacy has shifted. It's definitely shifted more towards, family equality and making sure that our families are treated equally.
I think we can relate with that. Our advocacy work started, like yours, kind of as marriage was coming up and being the issue that we were focused on. But now we have Lizzie. All of a sudden, women's healthcare is an issue that I never had to really think about in a very personal way. Now I do, because I think of it through the lens of how she's going to grow up in a world we're going to leave for her. And I think like that expands on like a broader thing, like the world we're going to leave her. And, it sounds dumb, but I do think all parents can relate to this very kind of me or us centric thing. And now there's this whole other dynamic that you're thinking about and praying for and working toward.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're a transracial family. My kid is not the same race as us, and so we've often thought of, we've thrown out the idea of moving back to New England, where I grew up, and our kid is othered in so many other ways already. He's adopted. He doesn't have his birth parents. His parents are two guys, and we're not the same race. So any opportunity we have where it's in our control to have him not be othered, we're going to choose that, right? We're going to make sure that we're living in a place that's diverse, where he has mirrors all around him. And because that, the pandemic was really hard because he just had us, right? He didn't have the teachers that he usually had in his daily life. He didn't have, couldn't see the neighbors, couldn't see friends who looked like him. So that was a struggle, right? Every media we consumed was people who looked like him, so he could feel valid. and feel seen. But you those were hard times.
I think that's so. I mean, that's one of the. We've talked with you, and we've talked with our listeners that we're in the process of moving back to DC. We just accepted an offer on the house, so that move is now imminent. It's no longer a hypothetical, but one of the blessings. So we love where we live. We love my hometown where I grew up. We love our community here, but it's pretty homogenous. And we're the only LGBTQ plus family we know of that's raising kids here. And so to move to a place like the DC area where it's much more diverse, not just in terms of race, but in terms of religious upbringing, in terms of, there's going to be other LGBTQ families that she's going to get to see. And so
Like you guys.
like, hey, new friends and rainbow families. So we're excited about that opportunity to have Lizzie look and grow up in a place that is more reflective of what the world really looks like, not this wonderful but very homogenous community we live in right now.
Yeah, I've had this conversation a lot, specifically around schools, specifically around book bans that are happening in surrounding counties. The Mahmood versus Taylor decision at SCOTUS last year, and just the very idea that there's people out there who think banning a book is somehow going to make their child not gay or make their child somehow different than we expect.
Or just this week we had the case with conversion therapy.
Yes, exactly.
You're putting people in rooms and torturing them, and it's not changing who they are. I don't think a book is gonna,
Right, and there's this idea that somehow you're doing something good for this child who's somehow not going to be able to read a book about people you don't like or you don't approve of. But what that's not doing is preparing them for the world they actually live in. Right. Not having a book in the class doesn't mean they don't have, a classmate who has two dads. It doesn't erase us. It doesn't erase the friends they're going to grow up with. And, I wonder, I can't help but wonder, as these kids grow up, how they're going to see their parents who tried their best to tell them that things didn't exist that did. It's a struggle. I feel bad for these kids who are growing up in these families that are just full of this hatred.
My undergrad I did at a college affiliated with the Reformed Church of America. I picked it because I wanted smaller class sizes. I wanted to get to know the professors. I grew up in a small town. And so I liked that. And I got a world-class education from that institution. It was not a great place. In fact, it was a place to come out as a gay man in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But it also culturally, it didn't prepare me to work in the real world. It didn't prepare me. Like we joked, we knew it on campus. We used to joke about the bubble that we were in when we were on campus. I think to the same degree that these people who are trying to make this country a monolith of everyone who looks the same, views the same, prays the same, loves the same, they're not preparing their kids for the real world. And there is going to be a culture shock that I think will be detrimental and not helpful to their kids.
Right.
Well,
Totally.
and unfortunately, I think shock is putting it mildly. I think it's going to be a cultural reckoning that they're going to go through, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be painful, and it's going to suck for them because they're not prepared to live in a diverse world. So you talk about books in schools. You are your local PTA president. We haven't delved into the PTA world just yet. We're still in the beginning edge of this. You're a couple years down the road further than we are. So, looking at that as a gay dad with a child in public school, what moment made you say, okay, this is it. Now I need to get involved. Like, this is the moment that I need to use my voice and be heard. And
yeah, let's be honest. My husband I think we've all been planning this from day one. We're like, okay, Jamie's going to take over the PTA. We're going to do this. There's this thing that I think happens with a lot of queer parents, and I've discussed it with other queer parents at Rainbow Families events. We have this thing that we do where we tend to overperform, and I think we knew it was coming, but then we realized both dads are showing up at every event. We're both going to every soccer practice. We're both going to drop off every day at school. We're both going to pick up, and we started looking around. We're like, I haven't really seen a lot of dads, period. It's mostly moms doing this. And then there's, of course, this gender role thing that people expect one of us to fall into. And that's been weird. But this overperformance thing happens, I think, because there's some innate part of us that feels like we represent all queer parents to everyone we meet. Therefore, if we screw this up, it reflects poorly on gay parenting in general. Right. There's this idea that we represent
Yes.
all, which is not true. And there's also very few people out there looking for us to screw this up. Right. They're not. But I think because of the pressure we put on ourselves and societally over many years of this, and this being still a new thing for society overall, it's interesting. It's been a challenge. I had my eyes on the PTA from pretty much day one, mostly because I wanted to see my kid in a space that I felt was celebrating him and celebrating our family. And not to say that this school wasn't. We live in a very progressive area, but I wanted to make sure. And I also saw that we have a lot of kids who are, we do have a decent amount of queer parents in our area. And representation has always been a thing, right? We live in a predominantly Black and predominantly Latino area as well. So again, just representation has always mattered a lot to me. So when one of the first things I wanted to do when I started with the PTA was to have some sort of pride event. It had never happened at our school that I knew of. I kind of fought the administration on it. There were some hurdles put up in our way to make it happen, where there were never hurdles put up for any of our movie nights or like Hispanic Heritage Night or Black History Night, nothing like that. But all of a sudden we had hurdles placed in front of us for this pride event. But come hell or high water, we made it happen. It was this great big pride festival. We had more than 100 people there. No pushback at all from any parents, which was also kind of surprising to me. But then our school board member came and she said, Jamie, just so you know, this is the first ever pride event that's happened at a Prince George's County public school, like ever, in 2025. So we made history.
Awesome.
But also, like, I was disappointed. I was like, I feel like this should have happened before now. But
Right.
glad to be the one to do it. Right. So yeah, I put together a whole pride curriculum for all of PGCPS that can be shared. But yeah, that's kind of where I ended up.
I mean, I think to your point of representation, former Congressman Barney Frank, coined the phrase, if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu, right? And so, we can't do those things if we don't ask, if we don't advocate. But we did a whole segment on a previous episode where we talked about the pressures that we feel as queer parents to be the perfect parent every time, everywhere, and at everything. It's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just talking to my mom about this over the weekend, actually, because it's, I feel like I've just it's been a common theme. This we overperform as parents. And I was thinking, though, I was going back to, I'm blanking on the name of the actress, but she goes, the gays, they just know how to do stuff. But I was thinking about, it's not just as parents. Maybe we feel it more acutely as parents. We overperform everywhere.
You're right.
Because it's like we feel that we need to purchase our right to be in society. And it's like gross, but it's also very real. And so as parents, I feel like we're fighting all the time to be the most amazing parents in the world and feeling, and the worst part is we feel like we're always failing.
Yes. And also, there's also an element, and I think this might play into it too, of just looking at the fact that most of us have been very intentional about becoming parents. We can't do this by accident, much though we may try.
We didn't accidentally get pregnant. We tried a lot, but
Yeah, it was in 2004. I was on the very first Rosie O'Donnell cruise. It was the Our Family cruise. I was there not as a parent, but as working for BroadwayWorld.com. That was my past life and the Broadway community. So I was writing about it, and I sat there in the pool area, and I just saw hundreds of families with two dads or two moms. And I in a minute, I just wished I could put, at the time, President Bush in a bubble in the middle of this pool and just made him watch how happy and how wanted every one of these children was. Not to say that, children of gay parents are somehow better than others. Not to say that, but maybe imply it. No, but I'm uniquely lucky. I feel uniquely lucky as a parent that I get to do this. And we frequently find ourselves in situations, I'm sure you're the same, where you hang out with other parents who are not queer, and the first thing, the default, is for parents to start complaining about their kids. My kid did this today, and oh, my kid's being a jerk. I can't do that. My husband and I, we talk about the fact that like we legitimately really like our kid. Like he's an awesome kid. I know we're lucky. Like and other people say that too. People are like, yeah, you have a great kid. Don't worry about it. But I can't, we never find ourselves in a situation where we feel like we have to one up another parent about how awful our kid is. Cause it wouldn't be genuine for us.
I think we tell each other all the time, man, our kid is cool.
Right?
She's
and when you're
great.
when you're not with the kid, you're talking about the kid. I'm like, do other parents do this?
Our challenge is our kid tells everyone that she's great too.
That is good.
She was with Nathan's sister, who we call Tanti, and her husband, so Uncle Ryan, and they were trying to correct some, rather small behavior, and she just like looked at them and said, "Uncle Ryan, I'm great." And it's like, maybe we tell her that all the time. So I guess she won't lack for confidence.
Yeah, she's going to need that. She's going to need that in spades. So just let her go. Let her go.
Well, especially like you, if she continues in the arts community, she'll need a healthy dose of self-confidence all the time. Speaking of which, though, connecting arts to kids, because that seems like somewhere where your worlds intersect. Can you, why do you think arts are important to kids from young ages? So, just kind of, can you expand a little bit on how your worlds intersect and glow, if you will?
Yeah. I mean, I would truly believe I would not be here were it not for the arts. I grew up gay in a small town, and if you were a boy and you weren't doing sports, there was something wrong with you. And I had a 5th grade music teacher pull me aside after class and say, hey, there's a community theater production of Evita that's happening. This is 1986. And she said, you should come audition for it. And so I talked to my mom about it. I was 10 or 11. And my mom agreed. And she started taking me to auditions and rehearsals and everything. And it was fantastic. And this world blossomed for me. All of a sudden, I had something that I felt I could call my own, that I started collecting cast albums. I knew every singer on every album that was there. I learned it. I made it my world. I felt a little lonely because there weren't a lot of other people who did. It was like me and all these adults I did community theater with. But growing up, it was the thing. It was my thing. And I went to college. I went to high school, went to college. And continued doing theater the whole time. Ended up moving to New York. It gave me a career, and my love for it never waned. But specifically for kids, we need to look at kids as more than test scores, right? And where I live in a district right now that has been so focused on test scores, because in many of our zip codes, when you go to buy a house here, the first thing you see on Redfin or Zillow is they have low scores for their schools. I'm sorry, but the scores are there, especially for elementary schools. I mean, the thing that
our realtor has told us that it's like, don't pay any attention to the school scores on there. They're only almost solely based on test scores and nothing else. And
100%.
As education advocates for a living, test scores don't make a student or a school.
Yeah.
Well, and we have a kindergartner. It's always going to say needs intervention. That's the whole point of education, is to be the intervention.
Right.
So
exactly.
it's infuriating.
Yeah. So I've been looking a lot at that as I'm doing what I'm doing, and the test score thing has been hard. Like, I have a kid who does not love taking tests. He's not great at taking tests, but then he gets straight A's on his report card. So like, there's a disconnect there. And as a parent, you look at that and you're like, okay, so if Zillow and Redfin are telling me that based on the fact that my kid doesn't get great test scores but is great at school, if that is any indication here, then this is clearly garbage. But yeah, I think looking at kids as more than test scores, as like whole individuals with real challenges right now, obviously, especially in our area. Immigration enforcement is rampant here. I thought, PTA, I'm going to be doing bake sales. And here I am, walking kids home from the bus stop because their parents are afraid to leave the house. It's a heartbreaking time to be where we are. And because of that, like, you have to look at kids at more than test scores. They're dealing with a lot of shit right now that we never had to deal with. And on top of that, they also have very real dreams and aspirations and hopes that we're ignoring because we're worrying about the bad crap and the test scores. And I think the arts plays a huge part in that, like letting kids discover who they are in and outside of the classroom is just so vital.
I think test scores are a measure of how well kids memorize information to regurgitate it,
Precisely.
right? I did significantly better in college than I did in high school, and I was fine. I was on a roll, but I wasn't the valedictorian or anywhere near that. But when I got to college and I was a history major. So we had exams that were a final paper. We had tests that were write an essay. And when I had the time to compile my thoughts, to jot out an outline and then write and articulate whatever the outcome was, that was better than, like, I was thinking back and, about like the old multiplication tables, and you had the 100 questions and you had like 10 minutes or whatever it was to get it. I wasn't learning why 8 times 7 was 56. I was memorizing that 8 times 7 was 56. And there's a difference. And that's what we have to figure out how we solve for, is finding these new intuitive ways as we've learned more about the human brain, as we've learned more about how different learning styles for kids. How are we actually measuring the learning outcomes of students, not how well they memorize information?
Yeah, exactly. And the test scores are also there to grade teachers more than students in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah. I need something stronger than my T if we're gonna talk about test scores and being used on teacher evaluations.
So now that you're in the schools, you're kind of peeking behind the curtain more than those of us who have not yet delved into the PTA world yet have. What has surprised you about the schools now that you've seen behind the curtain and you've seen what the system really is like?
Has surprised me.
Other than the test score piece.
I mean,
which is fine,
I've been surprised that our schools are so different, that a school down the street from one another operates entirely differently based on the principle that they may have the same policies and procedures, but your zip code dictates how much money the school gets and operates, and that it just feels so unequitable and awful. Like there was a school literally 5 minutes from where my kid goes to school, and my kid's school is fine, but it's no great shakes. We're in an interim school right now because our school's being rebuilt. So we're in a Catholic school that has been empty for many years. It's not in the best shape, and we have great teachers. Our teachers, our staff are incredible, and I've been touring around to some of the other schools, another school down the road from us, where I've been reaching out to what's called the Parent Engagement Associates to see if I can come meet parents. And so I reached out to this one, and they said, yeah, we're doing a parent volunteer event tomorrow. So I showed up 8:00 in the morning. There were 20 parents in the room. I was the only one who didn't speak Spanish, and they had no PTA at all. We have a very robust PTA. We have $100,000 a year budget. We do very well as a PTA, functioning as we do a lot of events. They have no PTA at all. And so I immediately started asking, how do we do this? And they had 20 parents who were excited to volunteer. But they started the whole meeting off very quiet. No one really talking to each other. And I think, the white guy at the front of the room might have been a hindrance to that effort. But once they started talking and the PEA started doing some exercises with them, they started realizing all the things they had in common. Like one parent said, oh, my kid's been bullied. And another parent across the room said, oh, my kid's in that same room, in that same classroom, and they've been bullied too. And then another parent said, we have some big food needs in our family because my husband was deported. And then another parent said, hey, this is happening in my family too. Let's connect on this. All of a sudden, I'm talking to them about how to build a PTA. There's an interpreter there. There's this idea that building a PTA means having a treasurer and having a president, and that's not it. Starts with a WhatsApp group, right? Just have a place where you can talk, where you can commune about what's happening at your school. Because we all know that every school does better with more parent engagement. And so I think there's been kind of a cultural shift in our county specifically, where parents have been seen as not the enemy by any means, but not helping towards the functionality of the school. And parents have been seen as just these people who complain about everything. Whereas if you get past that, if you hear them, if you listen to them and actually engage with them, as opposed to, we're doing a seminar and we're going to talk at you for an hour every other month, then you'll see they have ideas too. They have, if you actually want all the best ideas in the room, you have to have all the best ideas there, all the best people there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's been a lot of my focus now. The thing that surprised me really is just the differential between schools in the same district and down the street from one another based on their zip code.
We could do another seminar on the inequity of how schools are funding and why property taxes and zip codes have a disproportionate and unfair setup for how kids and what kids will succeed, and then the long-term effects of that. But steering us back for just a second, what do you wish? I mean, I think the story you just shared was incredible about how a community that's largely non-English speaking, how they can and how you want to help them form a parents group to do that. What do you think schools and school leaders need to know more about our community, the LGBTQ community?
I mean, I think schools can lean into parents who want to overperform, right? We want to do these things. We want to be part of the conversation. And I think if, as a school administrator, you learn that you have LGBTQ parents in your school, you want to reach out directly to them, because we're good at things. We're good at organizing. We're good at throwing parties and events, right? I mean, naturally, like we just kind of... I hate to generalize, but I don't at the same time, because we are good at things. We're not good at everything. I'm not good at everything. My house is a mess right now. My house is frankly usually a mess. And I'm owning up to that publicly right now, which is a little weird. But yeah, I'm not a decorator. I can't do hair to save my life, clearly. But there are things I'm good at, and one of those things is being a parent and being an involved parent. I think there's as an administrator, I'd say, or as a gay parent, I'd say, hey, lean into your gay parents, lean into your LGBTQ parents, and actually commune with them, actually have real conversations with them about what's needed.
So you're running for school board. Your campaign is focused around making sure that every child deserves access to school, safe, supported, challenged, and truly seen. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the parent engagement piece is a big part of my campaign, and making sure that the county and the district is engaging parents in very real ways. Sometimes it feels a little performative, like we're checking a box and saying, hey, we engage parents, see, because we held one meeting at 1:00 p.m. on a Wednesday, and no one showed up. Weird. So
wait, what? People didn't show up at 1:00 on a workday?
Strange, right? So again, like things like that, where you have to engage, you have to meet people where they're at, and yeah, that's a big part of the campaign. I'm running because I saw an opportunity here to take what I've been doing on the local level and expand it. I've seen challenges in our district. The people who are running our schools right now know me by my first name, but we've had a lot of challenges with our interim school, with transportation, specifically with aftercare. A lot of things that are affecting people from our community overall. We are a Title I school. We lost our Title I funding last year. I understand we're regaining it again. For those who don't understand or don't know Title I, it just basically means that you have a certain percentage of your school who is living they're either from low or very low income families. Our school, I think, is at 86% or 87% low or very low income. So that means you get more federal funds that help out your school and build community schools funds and things like that to make sure that you're able to engage your families. One of the things that our kids get, we get 2 meals. Every kid gets 2 meals for free every day. That's paid for, and so that's great. A lot of these kids, those are the only meals that they're having during the day. So yeah, there's very real challenges that our district faces, and I've been able to see and deal with it, a lot of it firsthand. So I kind of see an opportunity here to take my leadership to the next level.
So you win this campaign.
Mm-hmm.
We're 10 years down the road. Malcolm is on his way out of the system.
Ooh.
What does success look like to you?
Success looks like we built several more schools. Right now, we have some schools that are dilapidated, that are frankly unsafe to be in. My kid's school was one of them. There was a instance of raw sewage running through a kindergarten classroom at one point because of a burst pipe.
Ew.
Yeah, not great. Not great at all. It was a 110-year-old building, and now currently we're at a 200-year cycle right now for rebuilding schools, which that's not okay. So I want to see a lot more schools rebuilt. I want to see our families protected. Like, even if it's a Band-Aid for now, like our families are being harmed. Our families, because of what's happening in the current administration, we have to do a lot to protect our families. We have to step up and make sure that our families are being taken care of, because our schools are more than just the place our kids are learning now. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. They're everything from, in our district, in our area, they're places to pick up food when you need it. We're doing food distribution at the
Yes.
school. We're doing community events. We're doing cultural events. They're even like cooling and heating centers in extreme weather. So we have to start respecting schools as the community centers they are, as opposed to just this building where kids are being babysat, which I think a lot of people who maybe don't have kids see it as. And I'd want to see at the end of whenever I finish doing this, I want to see people who are not parents just as invested in the schools as people who are. Again, I think that's seeing these buildings as more than just places for learning. So yeah, I think that's a big piece of it. That would look like success.
I mean, all of those things you just discussed, the schools have picked up the mantle and they're carrying them, and it's wonderful where it's happening. We also need to acknowledge that the system was not designed to do that, but we have dedicated education professionals who choose to create new programs so that these things exist. You have school leadership who say, like, you know what? We don't have school in July. So if it's 1,000 degrees outside, we're going to open up the school so people don't die of heat exhaustion. So it's amazing to see them do this. I also just I applaud you for putting yourself out there. It's not easy to run for political office. Every facet of your life is now open to scrutiny and to the public. But I also think that parents, specifically when it comes to school board, make the best school board members, because you have a vested interest in the school district succeeding, not just for your kid, but for all the kids in that school district. And I always have been leery of people who either first political office or they were in this office and they termed out. So now they're going to go to school board. They're in it for their own ego. They're in it for themselves. They're in it because it's a stepping stone to something that's next, as opposed to parents who just say, do you know what I want? Success looks like, I want a good school for my kid. That's it. It's real simple. I just want a good school.
I can't. That's why I'm running. I mean, there's someone else in the race right now who is not a parent, who's a younger gentleman, and his heart's in the right place. He's a community leader where he's at, and this would be a political step for him. He would be going from a county or a town council role to this, and frankly, in our county, it has been that for a lot of folks. A lot of the folks who are in leadership at our county now started out leading on the school board, and it's kind of seen as a training ground, I think, by many for this reason. I have no aspirations to higher office. That I don't even know if I have aspirations for this office, but I'm excited about doing it. But, I think there's something to be said for folks who are reluctant about taking on this work, because it takes real work to decide to do it, as opposed to this is what I'm cut out to do, to run for office. I never imagined myself running for office. My friends and loved ones from having watched me grow up would probably disagree. And the number of people who are like, yeah, we saw it coming. I'm like, wow, how come I didn't see it coming? That's been remarkable, but it has been hard, a huge challenge. Fundraising is hard. It's a very hard thing to do, to put yourself out there. I've been a fundraiser for a long time, but there's something different about asking for money for you to believe in me, as opposed to I'm asking for money for this summer camp for kids with HIV and AIDS that I ran. That's a very different ask. But at the end of it, if I'm able to frame it for myself anyway as look at this is the work I'm going to do to help other people, as opposed to you're giving money because you believe in me, it helps me in making that ask.
Absolutely. So, Jamie, thanks for taking the time and coming on the podcast. One final question for you. So we did get a chance to talk about some of the organizing activism you did in the LGBTQ space, everything you're doing now. It'd be running for office as an activist. But what's your favorite organizing win or story that you have as an LGBT activist that people should know about?
My husband and I were when the Supreme Court was deciding or arguing Prop 8, and the Defense of Marriage Act. My husband and I saw all these disparate organizations trying to organize around it. We saw HRC, we saw Get Equal, we saw the LGBTQ task force, all these different queer organizations saying, well, we're going to be on the front steps of SCOTUS, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we saw this opportunity that because we'd worked with all of them in some capacity to organize them, to organize the organizers. It was very macro. We started reaching out to these organizations saying, hey, let's put together one table where we all get to be. We all can make decisions equally about what this looks like to come out together as a unified force, right? In the past, there had been fighting over money because there's not enough money. There's never enough money when it comes to advocacy. And so people were mad at the larger organizations because they seem to take up a lot of the room, a lot of the space. And then smaller organizations that are scrappy and just trying to get started. So we figured if we get everyone at the table, give them an equal space, and we ended up creating the United for Marriage Coalition, which ended up including dozens of unions, dozens of advocacy groups outside the LGBTQ space. We had more than 6,000 people on the steps of the Supreme Court, and my husband and I were largely responsible for that. And you know that the little red HRC symbol, when they turned it red,
the red equal sign, yes,
yeah, that was the color was selected by me. So that's my little claim to fame. Someone was like, we should have like a color. It should be yellow, and I was like, why would it be yellow? Red is love. Let's just do red. And they're like, oh. So that's my little claim to fame. I'm somewhat responsible for the red HRC viral sign. I think if I may. There's one other event that I was super, super proud of. I organized a training for 100 trans organizers to come and learn how to tell their story effectively. And this is in 2013. So we brought 100 trans organizers to New York. We used the LGBT community center there and had a 3-day public narrative training. And several of the people that you now see out there out front organizing in the trans community, some who've run for office since then, and some who are just incredible leaders around the country. They were part of that training back when this wasn't a thing that was happening. So that was another one I was uniquely proud of.
You know, I don't think that we say this enough to each other, especially those of us in the activist community, because we're always challenging that next thing. What are we going to do more? But thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing for parents and LGBT parents in the DMV, LGBT parents everywhere, for the LGBT community. Keep up the amazing work. I'm tired. I think I told you this before. I'm tired just reading your bio. Can't wait to, and you guys are involved with Rainbow Families. We've talked about Rainbow Families in the show. We want to get involved with Rainbow Families, and we cannot wait to get to meet you in person when we are in the area. Thank you so much for coming on Two Gay Dads. You've been amazing.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to meet y'all when you get here, which is incidentally like a few days before the primary. So you can come hand out flyers at the booths.
There we go. We knew you'd put us to work. Oh my God, I really enjoyed Jamie. He was a lot of fun. We, as I say all the time, we do these pre-calls. We had like the best time. I think we ended up talking for an hour. Hard stops because I think are a blessing sometimes, because I think we could have talked even longer. So Jamie's great. Can't wait to get to meet him in person soon.
It was a really incredible interview. Really incredible to spend time with him. There are many parts about moving back to the DC area that they're looking forward to. We're going to miss Ludington a lot, but one of the things that I'm really looking forward to now is getting to know Jamie and his husband in the Rainbow Families group. So as we bring our show to the close for this week, we couldn't do it without covering the gay agenda.
This is the gay agenda. Queer news uncensored. Stay tuned.
So this week, this has really been bothering me.
I've been spraying in the bathroom. What else is bothering you?
This is less of. I mean, there's a story involved, but it's less specific to an article. Usually, these are specific to an article. So recently, with the rise of the new supreme leader of Iran, Khamenei, there were all these reports coming out, and stemming from a comment Trump made after a CIA briefing that the new supreme leader may be gay. And it's really not sitting well with me, because it feels like this, I don't know, like lavender scare, kind of this way of demonizing LGBT people, and the implication
because it is,
and
because
it's like,
it is,
the implication is that being gay is something disqualifying, humiliating, or deserving of ridicule, and it really Like, I feel like that should be deeply concerning to all of us. And like I said, this is an old tactic and it's really dangerous. You know, like I said, I go back to the lavender scare when there were these purges of LGBT people from jobs in government. And, you know, this idea that being gay is weak and immoral and corrupt and unfit to be in leadership roles. And then for me, because I'm a millennial, it goes back to this like weird LGBT trauma that we all carry around from all these characters 90s of these Disney movies that were also the you know, the protagonist.
Who
Or
is
the antagonist
who is Jafar?
is always kind of portrayed
Who is
in this
Gaston?
effeminate
Gaston, excuse
way.
me.
And so it really it's been bugging me.
But it should bug you because it is disqualifying in a place like Iran. Being gay is criminal in Iran. So you saying that it's linked back to the CIA. Now I'm not sure how much credibility they have in Iran, but it is essentially trying to put a bounty on his head. We already have one. We've already been blowing up the whole country. But now you're going to put another barrier up there while gay shaming, and I think the lavender scare reference is right.
And I think that's what's bothering me is this ideology coming out of the administration that being gay is less than or unworthy. And it can be really dangerous, especially because for us, this isn't an abstract issue. Many LGBT kids come from places where a rumor of being gay can be dangerous. And so it's almost like forcing people back into the closet. And, you know, for our government to be doing that, I'm just not okay with it. And it's, you know, it's using, if he is gay, whatever, I don't care. And if he's not, whatever, I don't care. But
hold on, we can't let Iran have a gay president or a gay leader before we do.
I mean, that would be a thing, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Come on, Secretary Pete, run.
Well, and I want to leave it with this. We are not an insult. We are not less than. We are capable. We are leaders. We are loving parents. So go pick on somebody else, you homophobic jerk off.
I love that. You know, I wish I had a happier story to tell, but I don't. You know, mine is a New York Times report. And this article actually came from two of our friends, Mike and Tori. They have adopted 2 children, and they tagged everyone they knew that was adopted when this story came out, and that it's 200,000 people who were international adoptees. We did not do international adoption. You all know our story, but they may still lack U.S. citizenship because whether it was their adoption agency, there was something that was made unclear to their parents because they got a birth certificate, so they thought that was good, so they didn't do this last little step that may not have citizenship. We don't know of any stories of any of them being deported yet. We do know of stories of people being detained for long periods of time, as was cited in this article. But this is nearly 250,000 people who have been here their entire lives, whose parents jumped through, you think the hurdles for domestic adoption are hard. Like, I can't even fathom what the hurdles are like for international adoption. They're darn near impossible. So they think they've done everything right. And now as they're going to get real IDs or get passports, they're being told that they're not citizens because some administrative paperwork didn't happen. By the way, these are the criminals, the easy targets that ICE is targeting, detaining, and sending to places.
Yeah, I actually did take a look at this article too, and it's fair to say they did fix this in the early aughts, but in law it covered any forthcoming or current adoptions. It did not cover adoptions that had preceded the date of the day that it went into effect. So what it's leaving is all these older adopted kids and who are adults who have passports in some circumstances out in the cold because their parents didn't realize, like you said, that they needed to go through this ridiculously complicated process once this already complicated process was completed, which is the international adoption. So I think it's so frustrating.
So what's unclear still with the law that they fixed before is that was only a people who were like under 18 by this date. So there was a whole group of people, it's about 76,000 people that this is unclear for. But now that number's 200,000, because what they're unsure of, what's still unclear is while they use that law to fix that process in that moment, they haven't changed the larger underlying process around this silly extra step you have to take. So it's unclear. And so there is a bipartisan fix to clear this up.
Because just what you want in an adoption, ambiguity.
Yeah. Just what you want with this. No, just what you want with this administration, an unclear immigration status.
But you said there's
yes. Senator Hirano has the Protect Adoptees and American Families Act, and it would permanently fix and address all of these challenges. Not only would it include anybody, regardless of their age, but it would seek to address the problem so that we're not creating new system. These are parents who did everything right in the adoption process, except one thing which may or may not have been told to them by their adoption agency. And I don't know, Papa, would you have, if we got Lizzie's birth certificate, would you have not thought, like, that says United States of America? If she was able to go get a passport, would you not all of a sudden think that, like, she's fine?
Listen, we did a domestic adoption. It was pretty ideal. I can't imagine what all is at stake in international adoption. They could have, and with our adoption, they could have read me a list of 25 items at any point, in the process, and I wouldn't be able to repeat 5 of them. Like, you're a new parent, it's overwhelming. These things happen, and it's, I think like there's also legislating is hard and stuff is going to get missed. And what we need is there's a reason that due process exists, and due process exists to give room for ambiguity to shake out and for there to be grace should it be required, needed, or otherwise appropriate. And so I think like this is just in a lot of ways, it's an argument for many things. But one of those things is that due process is important here because a judge would sit down and say, I think within the law, I have a reasonable amount of discretion here, and I'm going to use my discretion to say we are going to fix this rather than penalizing somebody. When you take away that, we could potentially be deporting people who have done nothing wrong.
They've been here their whole life.
One little thing,
and they were an infant, so it wasn't even like they did it wrong.
Right. So I think like if nothing more, if there's no other takeaway, and there should be a lot, this is also a time to have that conversation too. Due process is important. It's the right of everybody who steps foot on this land. It is required. It is needed. Don't give up on it. It's worth saving.
So if you are so inclined, this bill is in the United States Senate right now. Look up your United States Senator, call them, and tell them to support Senator Hirano's Protect Adoptees and American Families Act, because it's just the right thing to do. And this is something where there does appear to be bipartisan traction.
In loving community, adoptive kids, adoptive families, we need to come around. We need to be there for each other. We need to be the community that we talk about being. We need to all be doing our part to make sure that things like this get passed to protect families like ours.
Papa, this has been a really great episode, from Jamie's interview to my dad fail of the week. Maybe one time we'll have a Papa fail of the week. That would be...
I'm great.
Lizzie agrees. Lizzie is great too. Until next week, everyone, I'm Jason.
I'm Nate.
Onward.
Onward.